Hi, it's Gary. I'm here to teach you about the game Menhir. It's about bringing primitive people who basically have the knowledge and abilities somewhere around the Homo erectus Neanderthals and moving them into the modern age, up to where they could build a Menhir. There is a few ways to win. One is through deploying all your knowledge cards. The second is if everyone else is eliminated. Then there's to build a Menhir. There's also a timed victory, and you can play an advanced game. We won't get into the advanced game yet. So every player starts with 4 food, 1 supply or resource, 4 adult meeples, and 1 child meeple. And you also deploy you from your hexagon draw pile. I've already put the plains and the lake on the board. After you've deployed your hexes on the board, you take the rest of the tiles and shuffle them. Not perfect components yet. And then you can place them in a draw pile. And whenever you move your meeples to an unexplored hex, which you can see are all around, then you put one of these down on it. So if I was to move this meeple here, they would go here. That's a lake. They would also get a food for exploring a new hex. But we're just doing the setup. Also, you have a starter deck of cards. And I've drawn 2 already. To set up, you draw 2. That way everyone kind of has a little bit of a different clan, which is a word that comes up lots in the rules. So this is all done simultaneous for all players. This says add advanced flint napping, cash, family values, and temporary shelters, and reshuffle. So these are the starter cards. They all have the SD on them. These do not. Put them together however you want and shuffle. And then this clan is good to go. Also, when setting up, there's the shaman card. There's some knowledge that comes with it. Calendar, domestication, livestock, celestial navigation. There and here. You can put it under here. You don't get it until you get your 10th knowledge card. So you start with 2, you need 8 more. These are your reserve cards. They can be face up. It makes the game go quicker. And then as they're needed, then they get put into the draw pile. And when they're in the draw pile, they can come out randomly. To buy a knowledge card takes either 5 food or 2 resources. So at the start of the game, you don't have enough to use either one of those, but you can during your first turn, depending on how you play out your turn. Also, once you get the shaman in play, you can buy 2 knowledge cards a turn. And the faster you do that, the more abilities you get. Because when people were really primitive, they had very few things they could call on. Whereas by about 10,000 years ago, they had a lot of thought and advances in a lot of areas. I wish these were color-coded, but they're not yet. But this is the player card. This is your combat modifier, so as you get knowledge, some might give you +1 to your modifier. Then you move this guy down to a +1. You can go very far down there depending how much knowledge you have. It starts off, there's a start of era phase. Everyone takes part in that simultaneously. There's the clan turn phase. For advanced players, you can do simultaneous ones for clans that are not close to each other. And that's kind of a professional soldier rule where if you think there's a chance you might overlap and interfere with someone's turn, you've got to put that on hold. But you can go around and do them simultaneously. But until you feel you're good enough to do that, you go clockwise around the table. So start of era, everyone does simultaneously. There's some notes up here. Start of era phase. Then you go to the clan turns. These are all the clan turn tables. And then you have the end of era phase. So the start of era phase, you check for starvation, which you don't do the first turn. You check for aging. If you're hunted, you do procreation. And start of era phase. So this is the turn 2. We have, or further down the road. Start of era, we're a bit further down the road now. We're not an initial clan. We have 3 knowledge cards here in our tray. So the first thing you do is food. So you have to pay 1 food for every other meeple rounded up. Now there's 2, 4, 6, 7. That means we have to pay 4 food. And they go back to supply. After that, you see if any children or different aged meeples that are not adults, if they age up. So the preteen we have on the board has to roll. You can see maybe here a die 20 to survive. Oh, they didn't. They rolled a 20. They are eliminated. We don't know what they died from, but they are gone from the game. As they get older, their odds are more and more likely they'll survive, but those ones did not. Now, if there was a predator in the hex, we would do a hunted check. We will do one later just to show you how that works. And they also get, every clan gets 2 child meeples. And you can put them anywhere there's an adult on the board. And that's it for the start of era phase. Dice. There's different types of dice used in the game, and it's a good idea to familiarize people with them all because some don't have to think about it. Others are going, what's the difference between an 8 and a 10-sider? So here we have a 6-sided die. Here we have a D8. This is a D10, a D12, and a D20. If you've played Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, these are easily recognizable. For other people, maybe not so much. But anyway, I just wanted to put that in here quickly because I've seen people pick it up. Is this an 8-sider? No, it's not. That's a 10, 8, 6, 12, and 20. Hunted check. So here we have under H2, which is just for hex, and here we have 2 meeples in H2. There's a saber-toothed tiger. Turn the camera. And here's the table for doing the hunted / predation / strike back. So the meeples here are, they have basic hunting tactics, so that means they don't have the +2 for not having basic hunting tactics. And we roll a d6. Ooh, that's not good. So a very strong opponent, +2, 7+, all clan meeples are eliminated. Goodbye. The predator stays there. It will possibly move at the end of the era phase. I'll just go through some of the modifiers in the hunted section. So there's, if there's children alone in a hex, that drastically changes it. If anyone is starved this round, so you're easier to hunt down. -1 in a cave entrance hex, -2 if there's 6 or more preteen or older meeples, -1 if 4 or more, and -1 if clan being hunted have knowledge of 1 or more ranged weapons. Also, preteens alone in a hex have a bad modifier, and if the predator's strong, or in this case it was very strong, that gives a +2, and +1 in trees, hills, or mountains, and -1 if wearing hides, because even though it's not like it's actual armor or something, it does make it a bit safer if someone's trying to bite you. Before carrying any other actions out, you have to see how many people are going to be resourcing in your clan. So if you have 1 to 4, you roll in this table. 5 to 7, 8 to 10, or 11+, you roll a d8. and we will have this clan member resource, and they will be exhausted afterwards, so they can do nothing else this turn. They rolled a 3, so they get 1 resource for the clan, and we just put that down either here on the sheet or on your card with your knowledge cards. Foraging. At the start of the game, you can see we have unexhausted, a preteen, we have 5 adults. One of the things that helps move the game along is to use a different size die. So here we have a larger D6 and here's some smaller ones. And that way you know that the larger one is the preteen, because their results can modify. A preteen meeple gets -2 to their roll, so that changes this 3 to a 1, and they don't get any food. The others, this one is a 1, they don't get any food either. The 6 is still 1 food because we don't have anything modifying it. So all these results give your clan 4 food, and then you get 2 actions, so you can do whatever you want with the other one. For the second phase action, because they all get 2 actions, 3 of them will resume foraging and looking scavenging. Some good rolls, but again, they don't get a +1. A +1 would have given them more food, but it's a 6, so that's still 3 more food. And right now, these are what we're using for food. However, the other 3 in this hex here in the woods decide to go hunting. They draw a creature card. Oh, are they lucky? Creature is a cadaver, which a lot of people don't realize. Primitive people spent a lot of their time scavenging cadavers that had either passed away on their own or other predators had killed. And it's a lot safer than hunting your own to go up and find some extra calories there lying on the ground. So we don't even have to roll to attack, but they've all committed to that. So we get D6 food. So 3 food. 1, 2, 3. And a resource. On your turn, you can also carry out movement. If you go here, and you draw the next hex, which is hills, and you get a food for that. And you can also lay low. I don't have a marker yet for that. We've been just going by memory. So if you are in the same hex with a different clan, you don't want to know that them to know where you are, you hide essentially, and you waste the movement doing that, but it makes it a lot harder for them to find you. Should have moved this infant there with the adult meeples. Also, at the end of your phase, for every player, you take your exhausted meeples. Hope you can see the E on the camera. And you turn them back. When we get real meeples, you'll stand them upright. And that's the end of turn. Now, at any point during your turn or someone else's, you can gain knowledge once per era. So you can pay either 5 food or 2 resources to pay for that. And when you get your shaman card deployed, so after you get 7 knowledge cards, and shaman's still under there, when you get 7 knowledge cards, you can buy 2 knowledge cards a turn, which speeds the game up, and you might not have the resources before then anyway to do such. But that's essentially the clan's turn sequence, and then it goes to the next clan and the next clan until you get around to the start player, and the start player gets, for now, this little dinosaur. End of era phase. Once you come and every clan has done their turn and you've gone to the person before the last player, you do the end of era. You can see here the first player token moves 1 to the left, boom, gone. You also do terrain saves. Now I'm just going to show you So if there had been an event card that said that your plains become a desert, that means there could be ice on it, it could be too dry, but you do at the end of the next era, that after that happens, you get to roll a save. So it's marked on here. You roll a d6, a 1 to 3, and we got a 1. So it would come off and it would go back to a plains and give you its normal resources and normal rolls. You also get a chance for off-board meeples to return, and you do your predator movement. Now your predator movement is down here. If it's a normal herd, you roll a d12. This is a d12. You roll, and if there's a 3, it moves in that direction. Now I'm going to have a whole thing on that right away. Otherwise, it can remain in hex. Now, if it's a 12 and they were hunted, they will be removed because they're on the close to leaving, and if it's a 13 or more, they leave the board. So there's +1 to the roll if they were hunted last turn, and there's -1 if they were in or near water hex. Water hexes can be either rivers or lakes, although we don't have the rivers really set up for that now. So if there's a river adjacent to the outside of the hex, that counts as a water hex, and if there's a lake in the hex, that counts as a water hex. You can see at the bottom of the card there's a remain in hex mostly. Those are animals that there's a slight chance they'll move, but it's a lot smaller. So you roll a die 12, and if you get a 1 to 8, they do not move, they stay where they are. A 9 or a 10, they'll move to an adjacent hex, and an 11 or above, they're removed from the board. And they get the same -1 and +1 modifiers. Now, right now, it's very faintly drawn, but if you look here, there's a number 1. Now, what that means is if you have to roll a forced move, that is the number 1 direction. So every hex has 6 sides, a 6-sided die has 6 sides. So for this herd here, we have to determine if they move. Now, if we roll a 6, just for the sake of an example, if we would have rolled a 1, this herd would have gone off board, the saber-toothed tiger. If we rolled a 2, they would have gone here, 3 here, 4 here, 5, and 6. But since we got a 6, they go here. This is an unexplored hex, so they come off. This comes off the card, and this guy goes to the discard pile on creatures. And that's it.